Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Take the guesswork out of gourmet. Playhouse Spices gives you a leg-up weapon in the kitchen. Playhouse Spices elevates your cooking with gourmet, handcrafted blends made with clean, healthy ingredients. Explore exciting flavors and become a masterful home chef. Visit PlayhouseSpices.com and use code TODD for 20% off your first order over $50. Playhouse Spices. Seek, explore, taste. That's PlayhouseSpices.com.
Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised that the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Well, that is right, my friends. Here you are, tuned into hour 2 of our program. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for joining us. You know, last hour we talked about just how unhinged the left has become. They are cheering. I played the soundbite. I'm not going to play it again. But how unhinged the left has become. They are cheering for Tesla dealerships and for Teslas to be set ablaze. It's one of the things I talked about in today's Todd Talk, which you can get access to on our website at toddhuffshow.com. So I want to continue talking about this mentality, the mentality of the left. And I want to say mentality, but it doesn't start in the brain. It starts in the heart. I remember years ago, I came across a quote, which you will hear me reference on this program from time to time. I think it's a powerful quote. It's one of those quotes that if you hear it, you might think that sounds like that could be in the Bible. And it's not in the Bible, although I think that there are biblical lessons that point to this being rooted in truth. And here's the quote: "The mind will justify what the heart desires." The mind will justify what the heart desires. And so we all, by the way, as human beings who are selfish from time to time, maybe selfish a lot of the time, as sinners who've fallen short of the mark that God had intended us to achieve, we all can become selfish from time to time. And as such, we can relate to that personally. We know that there are times that we set our heart on something, and so we have to then program our mind to justify it. And that, in a nutshell, my friends, is what the left does repeatedly. Their heart desires something for nothing, and their brain justifies it or attempts to justify it. But the problem is, if you can step out of that emotional state, and if you can look at these things logically and listen to the arguments that are presented for the people who were chanting, as I played last hour, to tax the rich at a town hall meeting in Columbus, Nebraska, or wherever else. I mean, this stuff happens all over the place around the country. But if you can justify these things enough, and you can convince your congressmen, elected officials, that if they want to keep their jobs, they better give you what you want. You can see how this is a slippery slope, and it's dangerous for a free people. It's actually the reason why our founders said we're not a pure democracy. Pure democracy is mob rule. They wake up one day, they get all emotional about something, and you can make dramatic swings in all sorts of policies and decisions. And that's not good for a stable society. It's not good for a free people. So it's why we put together the Bill of Rights in general. I mean, in a very fundamental sense. We have the Bill of Rights that says, look, no matter what the majority says, this is the right that the smallest minority has. The right to free speech, the right to keep and bear arms, right? We have the Bill of Rights, these freedoms, these liberties that we have regardless of what the government tells us, regardless of what the majority tells us. We have these rights. They are given to us not by government, but by God. And government exists to protect those rights, among other things, protect us from foreign threats and that sort of thing as well. The preamble of the Constitution gives you a pretty good guide of what the purpose of our government should be. But now our government, and I say now, this has been going on for some time, our government is involved in taking from the rich to try to give to the poor. This is redistribution of wealth. If you want to know why the government says Trump wants to give tax cuts to the wealthy, that can be said the way that they frame it. Any tax cut would fit that definition. If a tax, a federal tax, is something that an individual pays, and I've explained, and you know that the tax law, the tax code in America, we've got this, you pay a higher percentage on the dollars you earn as you earn more. And so the people who make more money pay more taxes. And so if you're going to have a tax cut, and you're going to try to reduce the tax burden on people who are paying taxes, it's going to be focused on the people who are paying more in taxes. And so it's not a tax cut if someone's paying 0% or they get a negative, right? They're paying a negative tax because of the credits and everything else. If they get money back into their account, that's not a tax cut. That's a handout. And so this is what the left does. This is how they operate. And of course, they've got the media, the 7 pillars of propaganda that are dutifully reporting things and talking about things the way that they want them to do it, shaping the minds and hearts of the American people. But at its core, it's not about the mind. It's not about the thinking. It should be about the thinking. I appeal to people on a logical basis. But the reality is, these things are largely emotional. And the truth in the statement that the mind will justify what the heart desires cannot be ignored. So that's the direction I want to go today. There's other things that'll pop up, other things in the stack of stuff that we might touch on as well. Before I do that, though, my friends, you know that there's nothing more important than a good night's sleep. It's where we recharge to fight the battles of the day, whether that involves raising our families, working hard, or even standing up for what's right in this country in defense of liberty and the American way, the Constitution. That's why I love My Pillow. They've got everything you need. They've got their patented pillows, which I love. I love the adjustable fill, and I love the cooling technology because I don't like to sleep hot, and I'm also a side sleeper who's got a big head and broad shoulders, and so I need to smash that pillow up in such a way that it fits nicely between my big head and the bed that are separated by my broad shoulders, and it lets me get comfortable holding my neck exactly as it needs to be held in the night. But they've also got luxurious towels and unbelievably comfortable slippers, which, of course, Oz has hers on here today as well. These products are made right here in the good old US of A, so you're not just buying comfort, though you are. You're also supporting American jobs, American values, and a patriotic company, by the way. It's a win-win, my friends. Go to mypillow.com, use promo code Todd for big savings on the products they offer there. Whether it's for your sleep, your mornings, or just a little bit of extra comfort, MyPillow has you covered. mypillow.com, promo code Todd. Comfort, my friends, that you can believe in. All right. So, let's talk a little bit about this statement I made. The mind will justify what the heart desires. You know, when our founders established this country, and this is for the obtuse out there as well. This is for general consumption, but specifically, there's a group of people, I run into them from time to time. When I say that I love America as founded, inevitably you've got some knucklehead who questions if that means slavery or not. Of course it doesn't mean slavery. It means the other things that our founders established and wrote. And I've gone through this on a regular basis, but it means things like this. It means that when our country was founded, the founding fathers decided that you would be a citizen and not a subject. They did not, by winning the War of Independence, the American Revolution, they did not establish themselves as the same sort of oligarchy, ruling class that we had previously under the King of England. That's not what happened. They actually said, we're not going to tell you how you can live your life. We're here to say that you are here to frame your government. You are here to tell your government as a citizen created freely in the image of Almighty God, you have liberties, you have choices. This law of the land is going to be built upon what we tell the government it can do, not the other way around. These are brilliant ideas, by the way. These are life-altering ideas that were enacted by our founders. There's not force. There's not coercion. There's not a top-down approach. There's not a king. There's the consent of the governed. We're here to tell you, government, what you can do, and you get your power from us. We're going to build a system of checks and balances. We're going to have a judiciary branch, an executive branch, a legislative branch. We're going to have rules for how they operate. We're going to have a separation of powers, a balance of powers. We're going to have a free market economy. We're going to make sure that we enumerate, not all, but some of the liberties that we have that have been given to us by our Creator. They're not given to us by our government. These are life-altering ideas and concepts, my friends, that have led to the prosperity and the blessings that we have had in this country. And as I've said before, if this nation is special because of its ideas, if we have been blessed because we have lived according to certain ideas, dare I say certain truths, then it only stands to reason that if we deviate from those truths enough, that the blessings that we have been experiencing over the course of these nearly 250 years will eventually end. If the ideas are what set us apart, the simple way of thinking about this is if we stop adhering to those ideas, suddenly the blessings that come from following those ideas will stop happening to us as well. And that's where we are. And the ideas of the radical left are antithetical to those of our founders. I went to school. I listened to some of these lovers of big government basically every day promote their leftist ideology, their big government ideology, their worldview. Their worldview was that the government needed to do something different. In fact, some of them talked about having a new Bill of Rights. And that sounds to some people like, oh, wow, that sounds great. No, it wouldn't be a Bill of Rights that listed the things that you had the freedom to do yourself, that the government couldn't interfere on. These were things that government was supposed to do for you. Your new Bill of Rights would say the government has to do this for you. And they can play word games all they want, but if the government has to do something for somebody, the government only exists by taking money away. The funding in the government, anyway, only exists by taking from someone. So if you say the government has to provide X for somebody, you're saying a private citizen has to provide X for somebody. Now, maybe we should aspire to a culture, a country where we can have some of these things provided, but the obligation, by the way, that's what free markets do, but the obligation that someone has to provide something for you, it was foreign to the founders, foreign to people who truly love and revere liberty. And so we have two diametrically opposed ideas out there today. Actually, I would say we have three. We have the side that wants to totally rewrite, refound America, if that's the way to say it, recreate America in their own image, in their leftist worldview. These are the radical, godless, unhinged leftists. These are the woke. These are the folks who are chanting and cheering with foam coming out of their mouth to tax the rich, to stick it to the rich, to make them pay for all the stuff because they want it. The rich has the money, and why shouldn't we force them to do it? These are the folks that have built an ideology that is just firmly engrossed in this concept of greed and of envy, and they want to remake America as founded. There's another group of people in Washington, D.C., that don't really even have an ideology. They like the system as it's set up. but they're not devoted leftists. They like to live the high life. They like to be able to get the special treatment. They like they like making a decent living. They like having the job security, the retirement, the pension, the seats of honor. They like that. And they're kind of just, I would say, a little bit hedonistic. It's just, keep me well fed, keep me, prosperous to some degree, take care of me financially. I'll live my days, vote for whatever I have to vote for to stay in that position, basically. This would be the rhinos live here, candidly, the Republicans in name only. And then there are the people who are principled in their understanding, who understand either from a common sense perspective or from an ideological perspective, or both. They understand that this system is broken. They understand that it's ridiculous to be paying for the things we've been paying for. They understand that it violates the way that this nation was founded to operate, that we're building this nation upon the backs of families, of people who are working to provide things for people who aren't, people who don't. It's one thing if you truly can't. It's another thing if you just simply don't and expect and demand, in fact, someone else to provide these things for you. And so that's what's happening here. And the people who have common sense or who are adhering to the Constitution have a lot of power right now, because candidly, my friends, this is where a lot of the American people are. And it might not be an ideological position where they understand the ins and outs of conservatism, the Constitution, the founding principles, and so forth. It may just be from the perspective of, hey, it's stupid that I've got to work to pay taxes for you to go build a Sesame Street program in Iraq. It's stupid for me to go and to maybe both husband and wife have to work. Maybe one of them, maybe the wife wants to stay home with the kids, but she can't because of economic pressures, financial pressures. So now she has to do something she doesn't really want to do, puts more pressure on the family. I wonder how much pressure this has put on families to do things like divorce, or just some of the problems that exist in families or in culture, society today, because we've lost, because of the financial pressures that are caused in large part by the way our government behaves. And people are over it. It makes no sense. They've been exposed. Elon Musk has shown the light of truth. Donald Trump has exposed this stuff, leading the charge. And so there's a battle that's happening. But what we have to understand is that the people, the group in the middle, the rhinos, some of these rhinos are going to end up voting for some of this stuff, this limited government stuff, because that's how they're going to survive politically, meaning to keep their positions and so forth. And you know what? While there's a part of me that hates that, there's also a practical side of me that says, okay, the reality is okay. Because that's what Milton Friedman said. He said, we should stop trying to look for politicians who are above reproach. Instead, we should look for politicians that we hold accountable. We should look for politicians that we pay attention to and that they know this is what we expect from you. And if you don't do it, you're going to be summarily voted out of office at the next election. And so I agree with that in practice, but it still bothers me in theory because I don't understand why more people don't see the beauty of what we have. That being said, that's what's happening. But when you have one group that wants to radically cut and trim, I don't even want to say trim, dramatically cut the size and scope and power and funds that are going to the government, and you've got those on the other end who have learned to make a living off of that, who have learned to get entitlements through that, special treatment through that, jobs and promotions and careers through that, government contracts through that. Maybe in some instances, even some shady business deals through that. This is worth fighting for them. And that's what we're witnessing. And that's what we're all kind of caught up in here right now. Because what is happening to anybody who has any sense is a good thing. Now, you can make the case that I don't agree with this. Actually, Kevin O'Leary, who's on Shark Tank, who owns lots of businesses, incredibly wealthy guy. He's out there making the rounds. He does this from time to time on media. He said, I think Elon needs to cut more. And this, of course, sends the left into a tizzy. But he says, look, it's better. It is better. He's right about this. It's better to make one cut, whether, you do it when you take over a business. And some of this is, gee whiz, some of this can be harsh. Some of this can be tough. I understand. We're dealing with people. We're talking about people, their lives, their families, and so forth. They should have seen this coming for a long time. I've been talking about it on here. I've told people in the federal government, if you're working in the federal government, you should be prepared very seriously for the possibility that you might have to be looking for a job. That is where this is headed. That is what is going on. This is predictable. And so people know that this is coming. They should know. And so that's where we are today. And you got one side fighting for the continued status quo, the existence of the bureaucratic state and all of that. And you've got another side that says enough. Enough of putting your boot on the throat of the American taxpayer. Enough of your shenanigans. Enough of the wasteful spending. Enough of the potential fraud and money laundering that's been going through there. Enough of the kickbacks. Enough with the special treatment. Getting your family involved in this scheme while the rest of us are paying for it. Enough. And that extends to our relationships to foreign countries. That's why Trump is telling Europe, you got to start funding these things more. It's not our job to defend the world. That's why Trump is talking about Canada. Hey, you're going to be the 51st state. We're defending you. You don't provide anything to us that we can't provide for ourselves. You need us more than we need you. Why don't you just become a state? Trump is thinking in terms of actual, whether you agree with the approach or not, he's thinking about defending this nation and providing for this nation moving forward with resources and also protecting, acquiring land and having the ability to defend North America from some of these foes, both today and in the future. So that's what's going on. I'm at the end here of the first segment. So we're going to shift gears a little bit in the next segment as we get back from this break. But before we take that break, my friends, you know that we've been, by the grace of God, growing. And this week was our first week in Portland, Oregon. And I've enjoyed being on the radio there, and welcome those of you to the audience who are in Portland. But as we've grown and as we're looking to get on more stations, reach more people, and help others hear and receive truth, one of the things we're doing is launching our membership program called the Inner Circle. And for $99, one-time investment of $99, you can be a lifetime member to the Inner Circle. This is where you'll get exclusive content, behind-the-scenes updates, live video chats with me, and even a personal welcome call you can get from me as well. And we're looking to grow, looking for a few dozen folks who want to start with this, who want to start building this program with us, because we want to provide tools that help us become better conservative communicators, more educated, provide some entertainment, some other content as well. If you're interested in that, $99 for life, by the way. This is a lifetime membership, no strings attached. You can text the word JOIN to 317-210-2830, 317-210-2830, or you can visit toddhuffshow.com/join. Again, that's toddhuffshow.com/join, or text the word JOIN to 317-210-2830. I've got to take a break, my friends. Sit tight. Back here in just a minute.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Looking for a knife that's more than just metal? The Rainy Forge handcrafts blades in a real coal forge, the way they were meant to be made. Every knife is meticulously crafted, hair-popping sharp, and built to last a lifetime. From hunting to cooking, we've got a blade for you. Affordable heirloom quality. Visit therainyforgeblacksmith.com and click Buy a Knife to get started. The Rainy Forge, built with tradition, ready for your adventure.
Seeking natural solutions for your health and wellness? Look no further than Garden Root Remedy. We offer handcrafted herbal tinctures, salves, teas, and more made with only the highest quality organic herbs. We provide personalized consultations to help you find the perfect herbal remedy for your specific needs. Experience the power of nature's healing touch. Visit Garden Root Remedy online at gardenrootremedy.com. That's gardenrootremedy.com. Rooted in nature, blooming with wellness.
Welcome back, my friends. So, I want to shift gears a tiny bit here, as we move into the latter half of the program. So we talked about these ideological differences that the left has. We talked about that to them, government is God. This is their religion. This is what they worship. Those of us who are conservative, limited government types, those of us who would be conservative Christians, we don't worship government. Many of us worship God. Government is an important part of our lives, and we know how we are created to live, and we want to be able to live that way. We want to be able to live with freedom and liberty and opportunity. And so we are constitutional conservatives, limited government types, libertarian types of people. And so we understand that we're in for one heck of a fight. If we don't understand that, we had better wake up, because again, imagine if you're a Christian, I've said this on here before, but if you're a Christian, imagine if you go to church and the pastor, our church is actually looking for a new pastor. Imagine if the new pastor is an atheist. I mean, obviously that wouldn't fly in most churches, but just imagine for a moment if you had a pastor up there who didn't believe in God leading the church. That's how the left, I'm telling you, views Trump. They view him as just as much of a fraud to lead the government as those of us in the faith would view someone who doesn't believe in God to be leading the church. Those don't add up. Those things are they're the opposite. They don't compute. They can't be. They can't exist together in any sort of logical, meaningful sort of way. And so they can't stand Trump being there, and they will do whatever they can to fight to stop him. And we know that they've resorted to their typical tactics. They're engaging in domestic terrorism, some of them. The rest of them are out there screaming at people on social media, which of course is incredibly effective. I call those folks, I know you're supposed to call people Karens, but I had a Julia on social media just act like a total fool, to be quite honest. Arrogant, self-righteous jerk, I guess. I don't know. So if you ever heard me refer to a Julia, that's just what I'm talking about. But it's not effective, right? It's not effective to just go in to scream at people. But some of them are that angry. Some of them also think that if they can get the normal people to just be quiet and to be afraid, that they can get them to go along. That's why it's important to push back. That's why it's important. I don't care wherever you are. You have a sphere of influence. You have people that you can influence. And we have to be vocal at this particular point in time. You don't have to be belligerent about it. You don't have to play tit for tat the way that the left engages in political quote-unquote discourse. I'm conservative, not bitter. It's never personal to me. It's about the ideas. But there are times when, we can get after it here because it needs to be done. We have watched over the course of decades people who were either apathetic, the majority of the American people, either apathetic or just distracted or some such thing, to where we have allowed collectively these people into positions of power who are doing things that are the opposite of what we have elected them to do. In fact, you've seen Trump's agenda is popular. I got a soundbite on that I'll play maybe here in a moment of a discussion of that on CNN. But in order for us to win this, we have to realize, look, we have to continue to speak truth. We have to continue to be passing these lessons, standing up for these values, standing up for the Constitution, freedom, liberty, choice, opportunity, all of those things. We have to be willing to do it. If we're silent, as we had been collectively over the past 40 years or whatever, that the truth that we're not speaking, there's a void that's created, and the left is happy to speak these lies into the minds of children. And if you want to look at the problems that we face in our country today, the downturn of education. By the way, Trump's expected any moment, if he's depending upon when you listen to my voice, this might have already happened, but we're expecting him to sign an executive order to basically formally bring an end to the Department of Education, which leads me to where I want to go, because there's the left is fighting this petulantly in the streets. They're trying to find a way in the halls of Congress to oppose this. They've not been successful in that, by the way. They've been holding up, remember, their stupid little ping pong paddles with Elon Musk's name on it and their T-shirts during the speech that Trump made to the joint session of Congress here a couple of weeks ago. They're out of ammunition. They are reeling. They don't know what to do. They have no leader. They have Gavin Newsom, by the way, is trying to position himself to be the leader, actually out there saying some things that are at least semi-reasonable to appeal to the people who don't want to be a part of the MAGA movement or the Republican Party, but who have abandoned what the Democrat Party has become because it's being run by leftists. So Gavin Newsom's a dangerous foe out there, politically speaking, because he's trying to find that common ground. But he's got a whole record that he cannot escape. I mean, of course, the left will try to help him escape that, but they're trying to find their way is the point. And they're struggling and they're reeling. But one of the things that they have and that they're going to try to do to the full capacity, and maybe then even more than that, is to use the judiciary to stop what Trump is doing. Now, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, not this specific point, but we talked about the judiciary branch. We talked about the fight over deporting Venezuelan gang members, people who are now part of what Trump has legally identified as a terrorist organization. Tren de Aragua, the gang that's been, according to reports, operating with a central command and control system in Colorado, which we've seen some of the things that they've done to wreak havoc on the people of Colorado. But this is the world that we live in today. There's going to be political fights. There's going to be fights across the other pillars. I refer to the 7 pillars of propaganda. These are important parts of our society that the left is taking control of and that they are using to push their agenda. This would include things like media, academia, science, woke business, and so forth. But we've actually seen victories for the conservative movement, for common sense values. We've seen victories. We've seen companies turn away from their woke policies. We've seen schools that are facing consequences for trying to allow boys to compete with girls in girls' sports and all that sort of stuff. Trump has withheld funding under Title IX, which, again, people say Trump can't do that. Well, if you read what Title IX is, it's specifically designed, at least this particular portion, designed to give girls, biological females, access to sports. And if you're letting boys take over their sports, that's a violation of what that title was supposed to be doing. So there's going to be a lot of legal fights. There already have been a lot of legal fights, lawsuits and injunctions and everything else. But be prepared for this. Be prepared for this. And I just want to reiterate a little bit of what I said yesterday, which is this. Just because there's a lawsuit or a judge has made a ruling or some such thing, we cannot conclude, and I know that this will ruffle some feathers, courts can be wrong too. Judges can be wrong as well. Just because a judge or a court declares something does not mean it's actually right. Now, if the Supreme Court declares something the law of the land, you're stuck with it unless Congress can somehow pass a law that, again, turns into law the part that we want to see the law without violating the Constitution. It can be tricky, but nonetheless, there are workarounds. This is what it means to have a separation of powers and a balance of powers where different branches, they can respond. And Trump is out there trying to run the executive branch as efficiently as he can to protect against the incredible overspending as much as he has control over that, the waste, the fraud, the abuse, whatever. And he is facing legal challenges at every turn. This is going to be the course of this administration. And what I'm encouraged by is that they appear to be hitting this, dealing with this as though they're unfazed. They're going to fight this. They're going to continue to reiterate Trump's positions. If he loses some of these legal battles, then it puts pressure on Congress to try to pass a law that, again, that can be legally implemented, because this is what the American people want, 100%. So, have to take a break, my friends. But let me ask you something before I do that. You care about this country, right? I know that you do, but you know that you can't fight for America if you're not taking care of yourself. I know that sounds very basic, but it is incredibly true. We all age. We all need to take care of ourselves. That's why I'm telling you about Solti. Solti is an all-natural, clinically proven supplement that lowers cholesterol safely. Science has spoken on this. There's no denying that this is what the research shows. It may be able to lower your cholesterol as well. There's no prescriptions. There's no doctor's visits. This isn't even a drug, but it works. Just take 2 Solti soft gels a day. I take it, and I think you should consider taking it as well, my friends. We need healthy, strong Americans, not just for your family, your faith, your business. Those things are important, but also, my friends, for the advancement of the values for this great nation. So don't let high cholesterol slow you down. Go to Solti.com, use promo code TODD. You'll save 50% off and get free shipping on your first order. Solti.com, SOLTEA, promo code TODD. I'm taking a break. Back here, my friends, in just a minute.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Looking for a knife that's more than just metal? The Rainy Forge handcrafts blades in a real coal forge, the way they were meant to be made. Every knife is meticulously crafted, hair-popping sharp, and built to last a lifetime. From hunting to cooking, we've got a blade for you. Affordable heirloom quality. Visit therainyforgeblacksmith.com and click Buy a Knife to get started. The Rainy Forge, built with tradition, ready for your adventure.
Tired of store-bought produce? Ever dreamed of growing your own healthy food but worried about space? Exo Hydroponics is a perfect solution. Exo Hydroponics is a family-owned business run by a mother and daughter team. Their innovative Exo Tower lets you grow up to 28 plants indoors or out, using less than 2 square feet. Visit exotowers.com today and start your journey to growing fresh organic food at home. That's exotowers.com.
Welcome back, my friends. Here we are, third and final segment of the second hour of the Todd Huff Show. The last segment of the day here, my friends. So, I mentioned before the break that, you know, we've gone through the numbers before. Trump's approval numbers. What Trump is doing, the direction that Trump and the administration are putting this country on is popular. The left doesn't like it. The left is upset by it. But they can't. They try to deny it, but I want to play a clip here. This is from CNN. There's a lady named Carrie Sheffield, senior policy analyst from Independent Women's Voice. She's on here trying to explain this to the panel of leftists. So one of the few times I've seen 2 conservative people up here. Still, they have to have more liberals, leftists, to make it fair. Scott Jennings is still up there. But I want to play this clip, and I want you to listen to how the left tries to dismiss what she's saying here. Before I do that, though, let me remind you, just a quick reminder, freedommarketplace.net. This is a directory that we have built here at the Todd Huff Show. Conservative businesses. It's a directory of businesses that share your conservative values. They have made a pledge. They have vowed not to support leftist candidates or leftist causes, and they are pushing in the same direction you are. You can go to freedommarketplace.net. There's no login required, no strings attached. It's just a place where you can find good patriotic businesses that are pushing in the same direction you are, that share your values. Check it out today. freedommarketplace.net, liberty and business for all. All right. I want to play this soundbite. Again, this is Carrie Sheffield from the Independent Women's Voice. I want you to listen how she presents what people think about Trump's agenda, and I want you to listen to the rebuttal, if you want to call it that one of the leftists on the panel give in response to what she's saying. Here we go.
People are actually excited. NBC News on Meet the Press, they reported their polling found the highest level of enthusiasm and the country going in the right direction since 2004, 20 years. So President Trump is doing exactly what he campaigned on. That's why 76% of people said, according to CBS polling, agreed with his State of the Union speech, which included a lot of independents and a lot of Democrats who were watching that speech. That is why...
Carrie, my namesake, Carrie.
Yes, my fellow Carrie.
You do know what you're saying is incorrect. I don't care about the polling.
Talk to NBC.
The American, I don't care what NBC is saying. I can talk to the people on the streets. Are you on the streets? Are you talking
Absolutely,
to people in real life situations who have everyday jobs who are saying they're unhappy? You know very well.
Are you saying CNN polling is wrong?
No. What I'm saying is, don't do me. Don't try me today, Scotty.
What I'm saying to you is that you know, are you saying our polling is wrong?
No, what I'm saying to you is that you know, by and large, people are not happy.
They're very happy. They're unhappy with Democrats.
You're happy.
They're happy with Trump.
You're happy. Democrats aren't happy. We're not happy with Democrats. Let me try to sort this out
real quick. That lady's name is Carrie Champion, I think is her name. She says, look, I don't care what the polls, I don't care what the polls say. I'm out there talking to people on the streets. Are you out there talking to people on the streets? Think what you will about polls, my friends, but the reality is that there's a scientific approach to these polls. The polls say what the polls say. Now, people can be led into believing certain things about polls. They can be pushed into a certain answer. There's other realities to take into consideration. For example, if you say that you're calling on behalf of the Democrat Party and you ask questions if people support Trump, there are a percentage of people that don't want to tell a Democrat that they support Trump because, of course, some of the things that we've talked about this previous hour, including the destruction of Teslas and fires being set and cheering that goes on from people who inflict harm and damage to property of those who support Elon Musk or President Trump. So there's a reluctance there, but listen, there's not a reluctance. There's if anything, that actually makes the numbers in reality higher. I don't know what Carrie Champion here, CNN contributor, doesn't appear like she's behaving like a champion to me, but she's out here saying a bunch of mumbo jumbo. The reality is that the polls say what they say. And the people on the street say what they say. This is wishful thinking. This is, again, another attempt of the left to deny reality. So they're fighting this battle on multiple fronts. They're fighting it in the media. They're trying to frame it in such a way as to not make it look as bad as what it really is because they are taking it on the chin. They're fighting it in the court system, as we talked about. They're going to challenge as much of this as they can, as strongly as they can, to just stop Trump, to slow down his agenda. And Trump has proven he's going to continue to move, and if anything, just bring a resolution to the court cases. In some cases, watch these situations, these cases be brought before the United States Supreme Court. We might end up there on a couple of these things. But Trump is full speed ahead, and I'm loving every single minute of this. They're fighting this in every way possible, but the one way that they can fight this, they the left, they the Democrat Party, would be to actually change their policies and positions to better reflect what's happening in this country and the sentiments and beliefs of those people who live here. So, anyway, my friends, I'm out of time. There's the music telling me it's time to go. Have a great day, SDG.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Seeking natural solutions for your health and wellness? Look no further than Garden Root Remedy. We offer handcrafted herbal tinctures, salves, teas, and more made with only the highest quality organic herbs. We provide personalized consultations to help you find the perfect herbal remedy for your specific needs. Experience the power of nature's healing touch. Visit Garden Root Remedy online at gardenrootremedy.com. That's gardenrootremedy.com. Rooted in nature, blooming with wellness.